Hey guys, Darren Asbury here with Revital Outdoors, bringing you another exciting podcast. Tonight, we're back in the state of Florida. We're going to interview Mr. Garret Farmer. Garrett won the BFL Gator Division tournament last year on Lake Toho, so we're very excited to have him. We're going to talk to him tonight about some of the baits that he used, areas of the lake that he broke down, and then how he plans on defending his title this year in 2022. Real quick, be sure if you've never heard of Revital Outdoors, you check out our website, www.revitaloutdoors.com. Also, take action into our pro staff. We're constantly accepting new applications to our pro staff each and every day. Learn about our premium CBD products, and then follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And then if you haven't already, be sure you go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you're getting notified when all of these podcasts are dropping. And we have a long list of podcasts, especially with the BFL anglers that we're going to be interviewing in the coming weeks. So be sure to do that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him in, Mr. Garret Farmer from Florida. How you doing this evening, bud?
Well, originally from Virginia. Can't be a Florida boy.
Okay, originally from Virginia.
Doing well. So.
Good. So, well, man, talk to us about this year already. You know, the fishing's already kind of starting to heat up a little bit here in Florida. In 2 weeks, we're going to be at Lake Toho for the BFL Gator Division event again. Very, very excited about that. Anticipate a lot of big weights this time, just how everything's kind of shaping out. But let's back up. Talk to us about last year a little bit and how you were able to put everything together in practice, maybe some of the baits and techniques you used, and then, just how did it all go down?
Well, I mean, last year, I'm one. I unfortunately don't get the time to go up there and spend the whole week to practice. So I took off today, Friday, got up there Friday about 9 o'clock, got in the water, kind of stayed on Toho, ran down the south end, took a look around, got in some areas with some pads and shallow water, and just working normal swim baits, flukes, all that kind of stuff, and caught couple small fish down there, but nothing exciting. Kind of came back up towards the north end of the lake and got into a couple areas up there and pulled in real shallow water, real clear. Started throwing top water and caught a couple fish. Nothing crazy, but knew that those areas had enough fish in there to where I was hoping I could at least get a good limit of fish out of there. And in Florida, you never know what's going to pull up overnight. And
no, that's for sure.
It was kind of started out there the tournament, and it was a not superstitious, but I told my co-angler the night before. I said my reference number was like 118. I said the number that I have pops up everywhere is 16. Well, we drew boat 116 for the tournament, so I was like, this is either going to go really good or really bad. And
right.
Thankfully, it went really well. So the areas that I had started in practice, just really 2 to 3 little areas, and I was catching 1.5 to 3 pounders in there, and they turned into just anywhere from 3 pounders to, I had 2 that were almost 7 apiece.
Wow.
And just, it was, even my co-angler afterwards was like, man, that was magical. It was a day to remember for sure. So
absolutely. Kind of goes back to that. When it's your day. Okay. So 2 questions right off the gate. First of all, did you walk through it or did you stay in Toho?
I stayed in Toho, and I fished Kissimmee quite a bit too, but I've just never had the luck down there that I've had in Toho. I've actually had a junior state tournament that I won on Toho years ago, back when I fished the junior level stuff, and it was catching them basically the same way in that tournament. Went to the same kind of areas, and they were, of course, ready to go again this time. I had talked to a lot of the guys and. At the hotel the night before, and they were all, most of them were like, yeah, we ran down to Kissimmee, and man, I had 30 pounds today, and I'm going, whoa. So I thought about running down there and give it a whirl, but like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of time to practice, so it was just a matter of trying to find some areas, that I could work, and paid off. So
it sounds like you stayed in an area that you knew you had confidence in, that you found in practice, and then just threw baits that have a high percentage of bites on Lake Toho. And that leads me to my next question. One of the common questions that I get, and I'm sure a lot of other anglers in the state of Florida get, is you can throw a fluke in Florida. Talking to you, you won the Toho event last year in the BFL. Since you did utilize a fluke throughout the day, do you mind walking us through like your setup, how you throw it, like what size line you throw it on, and do you weight your hook at all?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I threw it a little bit in practice and caught some fish on it. I usually throw it on a 4-aught owner twist lock. I throw watermelon red or white, one of those 2 colors. They're pretty much Florida staples. usually 40 or 50 pound braid because, I'm throwing around the pads, throwing around the thicker areas, but also throwing in the open holes and stuff of that nature too. And that's a good bait to throw. From not just Toho, but any lake in Florida, you can catch them.
Right.
We were.
Is that a weighted screw lock or unweighted?
No, just I go weightless,
Okay.
and depending on how I want the bait to fall, if I want it to go a little deeper, I just rig it differently. Rig it basically sideways to get it to go down a little deeper versus the standard. But
Right. Cool. So, well, that's really interesting. So your bigger bites kind of came later in the day. Is that because it was a warming trend and you felt like the fish moved up, or that's when you went to that area and you caught those 2 7-pounders, or how was it? Were you catching fish all day, or what did you anticipate the bite windows to be?
I was expecting to catch about 10 fish for the day, 10 to 15 fish. That's because I didn't catch a whole lot in practice.
Right.
Needless to say, what happened in practice, and you once in a while make a mistake when you travel up the road 3 hours. And I actually left one of my tackle boxes in my John boat in the garage that had all of the baits that I normally throw on Toho. So I literally had one, and I use a lot of swim bait, stuff like that up there. I had one swim bait, and first part of practice, I casted it off. So I had to dig around the box a little bit and try to find something else similar to it. And granted, that's what I kind of ran into in practice. I was catching a couple on it. I caught one about 3.5, 4 pounds on it. And I told my buddy that night, I said, well, they're biting the way I want them to bite up here. So, but I ended up catching day of the tournament. I started out that morning with a topwater plug. And I probably caught 30 fish by 9 o'clock. And it just it was nonstop throughout the entire day. And I'd go through a pocket, catch 4 or 5, go back through the pocket, catch 4 or 5 more. A lot of those good keeper fish that were anywhere from 2 to 3 pounders. And I got lucky with one. I was throwing, actually picked up, put the one bait down, picked up a frog, started working around the pads, and I had the 1 7-pounder that I caught come out to the bait and nose up to it. And I saw her. So I threw the power pole down. I told my co-angler, I said, hey, watch this. I said, this is about to get good. And of course, at that point, he was watching. He saw the fish come out like I did. And I picked up a black and blue, sticko, which is good old staple in Florida as well. And pitched in on her. And I was using lighter line on that rod too. So imagine flipping into the pads with 15-pound line, and she took it and went, immediately. And it was on from there, and got lucky that she wrapped me around the pad, and thankfully the line come through, and I was able to get that one in. And so at that point, I had, I'd say probably somewhere in the 14, 15-pound range. And, I was really thinking, I'm like, it's going to take, at least I was thinking 28 to 30 pounds to win that tournament last year. With everybody I was hearing the night before going, hey, man, we're catching them, really whacking them down on Kissimmee. And ended up moving from the one side to the other to another spot. And when I pulled in there, I literally pulled into the first pocket of basically hydrilla and started working across it. And I think I ended up catching about 10 fish in about 12 casts. One of them was one of the other bigger fish. And there was a guy out on the outside that had seen me. And of course, he pulled up to the edge and started flipping down the edge. And I told my co-angler, I said, man, this is about to get ugly. I said, he's not going to want to be there in a few minutes. And about 5 minutes later, I hear from the other boat. He goes, come on, man, quit it. So it was, and I literally had 3 pockets in the hydrilla that I worked. And I probably had 20 fish out of those 3 pockets. And I was throwing back 3-pounders going, that's not going to help. Which anytime you can do that is definitely a good day. So
that's a pretty solid feeling when you're doing that. It means you're doing something right. So, well, good for you, man. Good for you. So, caught them throughout the day. Sounds like you fished very, very clean. You had a lot of active fish. Sounds like you were kind of fishing up shallower in the lake. How do you think that's going to transpire for this year's tournament? Because it seems to a lot of anglers that I'm hearing in a lot of reports and doing a lot of these podcasts that we're a little bit later this year. Everyone was anticipating being right in the middle of the spawn. Not really sure that's going to happen this year. I got a few buddies competing in that Bassmaster Open that's going to be on Lake Toho this weekend. Not hearing a lot of good reports. So what do you think's going on? How do you think you're going to defend your title? What's the weights going to be like this coming year in 2 weeks?
I mean, for us, we actually fished a local tournament down here. I'm about 3 hours south down on the Fort Myers side of Florida. And
Okay.
we fished a tournament Sunday morning and actually caught a fish off of a bed Sunday. So, and it was
Really?
30 degrees at takeoff. So they're starting to spawn. I mean, I kind of expect up there. I mean, last year, I think we were there, it was in March. So it was a little bit later. So we were kind of at the tail end of the spawn. I really think this year going up there in February, as long as the weather stays fairly decent the next couple weeks. I mean, depending on what the moon does when we get there, I think it's got the possibility to be even better than last year. Because a lot of the areas that I feel like I was fishing were kind of like the last fish that were in there last year that were still spawning.
Gotcha.
And I mean, it's just a matter of if I get up there on Friday and practice, pull in there and make a few casts, and they start eating like I want them to, it's going to be a lot of fun, just like it was last year. So hopefully that'll be the case. And I mean, and I'll tell you, I mean, I fish Toho a little different than a lot of the other guys do. I mean, you'll hear guys going, "Oh yeah, we're flipping, we're pitching, we're throwing, stuff of that nature, and working soft plastics and pitching Senkos and frogs and all that," which I do some of that, but I've got a technique up there that, like I said, when they get on it and it's right, it can be a lot of fun. And I did it years ago when I won the junior state championship up there. And had I caught one of the fish I lost that day, I would have won by about 10 pounds. I had one that come up and ate it that was probably every bit of 11 or 12 pounder.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Like I said, when they get on it, it's a fun bite. I started out in the morning, catching numbers, trying to get, good limit of fish in the boat. And then after that, it was, at this point, I'm like, well, if I'm going to win it, I got to have some big fish. And honestly, I thought I needed one more last year. Of course, I came in and weighed in thinking I had around 25. And then, of course, old Leroy's weighing him in, and I hear a ooh wee. So anytime you hear that going across the stage, that's a good sign. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, you gave us a lot of great information. You sound very, very confident in this year going into it. I'm with you. I think it's going to be a lot better tournament, but let's switch gears a little bit, kind of wrap up this podcast. If you had to give advice to an angler who had never been to Lake Toho before, was going to put 3 rods in their deck and go fish the BFL in 2 weeks, what 3 rods would you recommend them to do? And would you have them go offshore and fish the hydro offshore on Toho, or would you have them go up shallow?
I mean, for me, I always usually stay up shallow. There's a lot of fish around the lake. I mean, it's not just one certain area that's good. It's just a matter of kind of getting in that clear water, getting away from some of the algae that you get, some of that snotty grass. But I mean, for me, you can't beat some kind of a topwater plug, whether you like throwing a frog, a spook, a popper, a prop bait, anything of that nature, where you can cover water quickly, especially when you're searching. Second would have to be, probably some kind of a follow-up bait, either a sticko or something like that on the back, just Texas rigged, that you can pitch back if you miss a fish or anything like that. Of course, a fluke would be another good throwback bait too. And then, like I said, the other one is a little bit different, and not a lot of guys do it, but don't be afraid to go big. That gives you a little hint, but it's
okay.
And treble hooks. Don't be afraid of treble hooks in Toho. I've had a lot of good luck on that lake, even with a square bill, throwing it around the hydrilla, around the grass, or a rattle trap, stuff of that nature too. And definitely can work out pretty good. And I'll tell you the other tip, that and I carry this with me everywhere. And honestly, last year was probably the reason I was able to get back to the boat ramp, because I didn't make long runs last year. It was probably about 15 minutes, about as far as I went from the boat ramp, and spent a lot of time in the areas that I was working. And I actually had to jumpstart the battery for the outboard 3 different times to be able to move from spot to spot and then get back to the boat ramp. So carry a jump box with you. So, little things like that make a big difference. And, it could be the difference between getting back to the ramp and not getting back to the ramp. So
absolutely.
And try to make sure that when you leave the house, you bring the box that you really want to bring with you. And I mean, one of the baits that I throw up there that's kind of different is, I'll throw the old hard little swim baits. I mean, stuff like that. And when they get on that, it's a lot of fun. And when they get on the The other one that I like to throw, it's even better. So
I think you kind of okay. We won't go too far into it,
I
but
don't
I
want to go
think you
too
kind of
far
gave it
into
away.
but I gave you a little bit there. So
yeah, I think you're fishing kind of a Brandon Polinick style there, so that's pretty awesome. So, well, last thing before we let you go, I know you won the tournament last year. You're the defending champ of the BFL Gator division in Lake Toho. Let's see that hardware, man. Let's see what everybody's going in for.
You want this one right here.
Yeah,
I've had some of the other ones that have got the fifth place and stuff like that on them, but that's what you're after. And I mean, it took a hot minute for it to sink in afterwards, and let's just say it went home riding shotgun the whole way, so with the seatbelt on. And
absolutely.
I love to get another one this year. So and Toho and I mean, I've always had good luck on that lake. I just got a lot of confidence in it. And being 3 hours away, I'd rather go up and fish up there than fish Okeechobee right now. So it's a lot of fun up there. But
yeah, for sure.
And when they bite the way I want them to bite, it can be a lights out good amount of fun for me. So.
Oh, absolutely. Those are the days that we dream of on the water for sure.
Absolutely.
Whether you're in a tournament or not in a tournament, you just want good days on the water. It's especially fun when you get your family involved, get kids out there fishing. Yep. When it all just comes together, no matter what, again, whether you're in a tournament or not, it just feels good for it to all come together.
It was awesome last year. And I kind of had to, I got to give a shout out my co-angler last year. He was one heck of a net gladiator. Wish he'd have caught a few more fish than he did. I mean, he had them around. It was tough because I was cleaning house on the front. So it was a lot of fun.
Good for you. So, well, Garrett, it's been an honor having you on with our podcast. We hope to have you again on with Revital Outdoors because that's usually good news. We're doing a pre-tournament podcast like this one featuring you with guys that did really, really well last year in the lakes for the BFL schedule coming into this year. And then we're also going to be interviewing the guys following the tournament that did well in this year's tournament. So, a pre and post tournament podcast. So we hope to hear you on or have you on here again as well. And good luck in a couple of weeks on Toho. Hope to see you down there. And yeah, man, just have a great year and looking forward to seeing your success for sure.
Yeah, love to be back. So,
all right. From all of us at Revital Outdoors, thank you for tuning in to another podcast. We will see you soon. God bless and stay safe out there.